Welcome back to the latest Mountain West Connection football show. Yeah, we've been mixing up basketball. This is football. We're finally getting around a week later to recap that Fiesta Bowl. You still partying there, Chris?
I just slightly.
Just slightly. Yes, it's Chris there, Jeremy here,
Except they
hanging
sent me
out.
a whole bunch of TVs instead of Tostitos chips like the last time.
Oh, yeah, Vizios, that would be nice, right?
I prefer the Tostitos. They're a lot more practical. I don't need, tons of TVs.
Huh, trade in for Tostitos then. Go down to your local pawn shop or Craigslist. Give me $50 for this nice 46-inch Vizio TV and give me a handful of Tostitos and dip.
I guess, yeah.
Just saying, but this is the show, folks. We're already going off topic. It's been a while. MWCconnection.com, Facebook, Mountainless Connection. We are actually closing in on 1,500 likes on Facebook.
Nice. Yeah, and for you, it has been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I've been sick. I've had hospital visits for my kid, almost myself. It's been a while for doing a full show with you. I came on for 5 minutes in that Fiesta Bowl preview. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Hey, but good work. You and Matt do a great job. I was joined by the other Matt doing basketball the other night, so we might keep that up. But this is football. We are discussing football, and before we get to the Fiesta Bowl, we got the coaching turnstile. I'm not going carousel. I'll go with coaching turnstile. A little different, right?
A little bit more accurate.
True, because carousel means never get off. Turnstile, in and out, in and out. But I don't remember the last we've discussed about anything. Here's the latest. If you probably already know all this, but did we discuss Georgia hiring Mike Bobo or from Georgia? Did we just
run the dang ball, Bobo?
Yeah, without D Hart, who apparently is going to the NFL.
Which is stupid.
Yes and no. He's had so many injuries, he might as well give it a shot before he gets another year beat up. But I looked up what Mike Bobo did as the was he the O-line coach there in Georgia OC. He's had some pretty good running backs in the SEC, at least running game overall. So it could have helped him out, but we'll see. So you got that move going on. You have who was the interim coach? Was it Dave Baldwin for Colorado State?
Yes.
He is. He's going to Oregon State. He didn't get retained, so that's kind of interesting move that he got to be the quarterbacks coach with Gary Anderson, because he coached Utah State with Anderson before, so got that going on.
How about this? I'm just going to read off to you Mike Bobo's coaching staff, his finalized coaching staff. Okay?
Go ahead.
He brings with him Will Friend, who's Georgia's offensive line.
Good.
He brings the UCF defensive coordinator, Tyson Summers, as his main defensive coordinator.
A steal, in my opinion. UCF had top 10 defense this past year.
Absolutely. He brings in his director of player personnel as the quarterback's coach, Ronnie Letson, from Georgia.
We'll see. I don't know, but we'll
he
see.
retains the wide receivers coach, Alvis Whitted.
Rashard Higgins, come on.
Seriously, no, and yeah. I mean, they had a good receiving core last year. The offensive assistant, Brian Applewhite, from Louisiana Monroe running backs coach.
Yeah,
So
he
that's a
will
slight
be.
upgrade for Applewhite.
It is. We're not sure his position, but it looks like running backs coach would be accurate, in my opinion. I'm thinking nobody else is listed as that.
Right. Defensive line coach, Ricky Logo, who was formerly the Houston defensive line coach. Cornerbacks, how about Tennessee defensive quality control? So he's an assistant from Terry Ferris. So he's got a slate of AAC and SEC people. And
Good mixture.
Yeah. His defensive assistant, Marty English, is retained from Colorado State, and the special teams coordinator, Jeff Hammerschmidt, was retained.
So what will Marty English be? Because he's the co-defensive coordinator. He's not.
He'll probably be co-defensive coordinator as well. I'm guessing if Tyson Summers is the defensive linebacker coach and everything like that, Marty English will probably have a little bit more to do with the secondary.
Because if you look at the positions, like Ricky Logo's D-line coach, they already have. Maybe he'll be the linebackers coach. Maybe Marty English will be that. Because Summers was previously a linebackers coach, so maybe English will do that. I don't know. But still, it's a good set, because if you keep the defensive coordinator Colorado State had, and it wasn't the best defense, but it's still pretty good. But you bring in one of the better coordinators from I don't know. What do you think is a better job, really, UCF or Colorado State? I didn't look up Tyson Summers' history, but
I don't know. UCF had a pretty damn good defense last year.
No, I just mean like, why would he go to Colorado State? Not say it's a bad job. I mean, you're at UCF. I can see that being a.
Bobo. Bobo. He's building his own contacts, his own networks, his own coaching tree.
Well, I'm just wondering if he had any ties out west. That's kind of why'd you leave UCF to CSU? Because I would think UCF easier to recruit players in. Your league's comparable in the American and the Mountain West. That's all I'm getting at. Like, it seems like it's a similar, maybe even a tiny step down almost.
Yeah.
Well,
before you go and continue to your what I consider slightly depressing hire, how about announced today? Wyoming hires Michigan safety. Is it? No, yeah, it's Michigan safeties coach. Craig Bowl hires Michigan safeties coach Kurt Mallory.
Yeah, you're getting this for the same position. I might add, not like a D coordinator or anything, but heck, look at all these places coaches are coming from. You got Big Ten, SEC, even taking guys from America, which proves the Mountain West is a better league than them. If they can pull that guy in who had a great year, because why wouldn't not to go back? Why wouldn't Tyson Summers wait for maybe a head coaching job if he's that good defensively? To stay in that conference, but geez,
maybe this is the kind of thing that we are looked upon as the ultimate development league.
The UFL, XFL, one of those things.
Yeah, we are the UFL of the college football. That's
new T-shirt.
New T-shirt idea.
We'll have to probably rearrange. I think this might be trademarked, but. We'll figure something out. Feeder league to the Power 5. I don't know if we're coaching. We'll see. But they bring him in because Michigan revamped their staff and lost. I'm bringing Harbaugh. They got rid of everybody. And it looks like it's any connection there. There's no really connection I'm not seeing. Reading through what our guy Ben Mitchum wrote earlier today about it.
So,
yeah, I don't know. We got bad news. Should we get to that, I guess?
Yeah, go ahead. Get to the bad news.
Utah State.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that.
Oh, what bad news are you talking about?
Now let's talk about San Jose State's hire. You didn't get to that yet. Hello? Did I lose him? Did I lose you? I'm guessing I lost him. Well, that being said, what I think is any sort of bad hire, just because of how not good of a coordinator he has been for a particular team, Al Borges. Al Borges has been hired as San Jose State's offensive coordinator. And yeah, everybody pretty much knows Michigan basically allowed Al Borges to take the fall, but he really hasn't helped himself. He is familiar with the Mountain West. He coached for San Diego State under Brady Hoke's staff, 2009-2010. But he's also familiar. With West Coast teams. He was actually the Boise State offensive coordinator in 1993. Oh boy. So I guess. Right. No, I guess I'm still going live. Well, yeah. Interesting. So, yeah. Borges also was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. That was when he, after Oregon had gone to the Rose Bowl for the first time in over 50 years, so he was hired for the 1995 season and basically started his real big teams then. Spent a year at Oregon, then moved to UCLA, where Bob Toledo was the head coach. So, like I said, he's familiar with West Coast guys. He's familiar with all these different things. So Borges is, I guess he's an okay offensive coordinator. I personally haven't been a huge fan of him in a while, and that may just because he was under Brady Hoke's staff. I guess now I'll be continuing to move on to the. I guess I'll move on to the. What's this? Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll move on to the to the defensive. So I guess the depressing news, according to Jeremy. So defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. The Aggies have lost them both. Todd Orlando left the defensive coordinator position at Utah State to now go to Houston, and we know that Kevin McGibbon left for Gary Anderson in Oregon State. So, the real issue is, what is Utah State looking for in an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? And who wants to go to Utah State? That's really the big issue. And our guy Parker Robinson has been kind of analyzing about who would be good hires and maybe really good hires along with that. But along with that, though, the offensive coordinator says, as he gives more names, you've got to find somebody at this point who either has been very established as a coordinator and is looking to kind of maybe get himself into the game, into a bigger program, or you should be looking at somebody who has, who has really developed themselves as offensive coordinator and oh, that's nice. And can't get back in. So, I guess with that, I will try and bring somebody on. And do we have Jeremy back? I hope. Trying to talk to myself out of it. Am I still here? Are you still here? Looks like he's still here.
I did make it back somehow. Apparently, Google likes to kick me out of all my accounts.
Nice. Well, I've been rambling for the last 4 minutes and talking about coaches. So
I heard something about Utah State when I tried to go in, but I can only view the video. I'm like, oh, thanks. Or listen. So did you get to gorgeous Al Borges back to San Jose State? The best.
I went to gorgeous Al Borges and
the best coordinating duo, him and Greg Robinson.
The fact that the Gerg is still at San Jose State.
Yeah, they got that. You mentioned Utah State's in terrible position.
Yes, I did.
One thing about I want to mention with Todd Orlando. Yeah, he went to Houston to be a DC. There's only two reasons he would go there. One, we know he's getting a pay bump in pay. Two, he's hitching his wagon to Tom Herman because he's not going to be at Houston very long as their head coach. And so he might get taken along the ride for whatever big time school after Houston. Does that make sense, you think?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's a good possibility. So now I'm going to invite our other guy momentarily. So should I ramble or are we ready for Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, let's Fiesta before we both lose signal.
Yeah, I'm actually in Google. Here's the funny thing: when I did the show with our basketball show with Matt Bain, no cutouts whatsoever, perfect show.
So
as for connection.
Here?
No, I'm not blaming you, but I'm saying you were here last. No, it wasn't last time. Even when I did a show with him the week before, it cut out, which is weird. Or one of the other Matts, I forget. But it's my computer doesn't like me for some reason the past day or two. But Fiesta Bowl, it was a week ago. Do you remember enough to talk about this game?
I will always remember everything. I actually do not know.
We'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah, we'll just we'll wing it, right? Because we always wing it.
Of course, yeah. Here's a guest we're having tonight. Once I can get his email up here, we're having on Raja Prabal from Bronco Nation News, or Raj BNN on Twitter, RAJ. He will discuss a lot of Boise State stuff. We'll also have another Boise State guy because have been proven, or not proven, but accused of not caring about the Broncos for the whole season.
You guys have. I have never been accused of that.
Um, I know for a fact there's weeks where it was unanimous. Our big beef, Colorado State being number one in our power poll, which people still remind me of today on a random Facebook blow up comment.
No, but you don't understand. That's not me. That's not me. Not supporting the Broncos.
No, I know,
That's
but
me going based off.
no, I got you. But people were just saying, oh, they should be number one. They beat them. Well,
They're
yeah,
good.
I'm not saying that's for a team, but they're complaining that they were number one for so long. The Rams were. I'm like, well, you lost 2 games, you lost 1. Get over it. So we'll get our guest on here momentarily. But what was your thoughts in the game? 21-0. It seemed like this is cruising to a blowout.
Yeah, there was definitely thoughts of that. But also, as my family lovingly reminded me, that this was very much the same thing. Hey, are you in? Yeah, I'm already in the video. Okay. It was very much the same exact style of Boise, how they play always in a big bowl. Start out fast, kind of shell shock everybody, and then just, I don't want to say play to survive, but emphasize themselves on defense.
Well, third quarter there are some changes. They only had two positive yards in offense that third quarter.
Yeah.
If not for Dante Dion pick 6, this would be a Fiesta Bowl loss probably.
Right.
So, it's watching the game. It's like, okay, they're moving the ball. Like,
no, because the pick six would have still made it 31-30.
Well, okay. Well, they could have kicked a field goal instead of Anu Solomon stupidly taking a sack to end the game.
Yeah.
No,
but I would not say even when it was coming down to the wire, I'll be honest, I was still not as worried as I could have been.
I thought they're going to cruise, but I'm like, okay, no points, nothing's going on, and then slowly coming back. But I think before we're just kind of jumping around, and we'll get a few more things going. But what was your thoughts? Like the offensive defensive line, we knew Arizona, their starting center was out for the first half. That made somewhat of a difference, but Boise State's offensive line dominated Arizona that whole first half.
Offensive line or defensive line?
Well, both, but offensive line. J.J. went untouched for that 56, I want to say, yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Nobody touched him. Maybe somebody got his jersey flailing off the line, but he was untouched for a 50-plus yard touchdown. And then the next touchdown was at Chaz Anderson, 57 yards. Why?
Well, and this is what I'm saying. Though.
Easy.
Like I've seen enough of Arizona football this year that, especially in that Oregon game, if you can hit the holes or if you can even get open enough for a big play, Arizona's not touching you. And it's not their style, and they have some serious issues and serious holes to fill in their defensive line. You have Scooby Wright, yes, but that's pretty much it past that in that linebacking core, and the linebacking core is their strength.
Yeah. It wasn't him. They ran away from him. They did everything. They ran toward him with 2 guys, ran away from him. They were just doing all sorts of other things with us. Hey, it looks like we got our third person with the show this evening. Do we have our special already announced guest on the line?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Excellent. So yes, we mentioned we have our guest on Raja with us from Bronco Nation News. So we're just kind of chatting about the game just in general. But what Chris was just mentioning, part of the game was Arizona can't tackle. If it's not Scooby Wright, it's nobody in that game, or in general, I would say. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, looking at the defense before the game, Scooby Wright is really good, obviously, but the defense wasn't really that good. I knew if they handed the ball to Ajayi, Jay Ajayi is going to do Jay Ajayi things, and I figured that if Jay Ajayi got 25 touches, the game might have a good ending for Boise State.
Yeah, they started off, we're discussed 21-0. I want to ask both of you guys kind of thing. The biggest play for me, I think, there's a couple of them, but I think one of the biggest turning points was that interception when it was 21-7. Or I think that was what it was. Yeah, before the third Ajayi touchdown, Boise had to, they go 3 and out. Arizona scored. They hold Boise to 3 and out. They get the ball back. And then there's an interception. That was only like a 14-yard return. But I was kind of not nervous, but you could kind of see, all right, they stalled one. They scored a touchdown. They stopped them. and then they started moving a little bit, but then that interception kind of like, okay, was it Cameron Clayshawn Page interception, I believe. That I think that was probably could have been almost one of the bigger play of the game to stop from making it 21-14 or something.
Yeah, that was Dante Dion that got that, and it was good because Arizona was driving at that point, and it was a good stop. Boise State ended up turning it back over, but it kind of slowed the game down and didn't let Arizona get any rhythm to finish the first half.
Do you think that was same thing, Chris? Like kind of just stopped them to like, oh, you're not going to score.
Yeah. If you want to talk about what essentially impacted the game and stalled Arizona's play in the first half, I would say symbolically, and even a bigger play was the Statue of Liberty to make it 21-0. And you say, oh well, they've perfected that, or they've already done that once. And that's the thing. They've done that play however many times. We've already seen it once this year when we saw it versus Wyoming, and we all obviously saw it in the Fiesta Bowl. Like everybody in the nation, not Bronco Nation, everybody in the nation who was watching this game had to have seen that coming.
Maybe not that play, but some sort of trick play. They did have a wrinkle where I don't recall who the wide receiver was, but there was a nice fake to the wide receiver screen to make that play work.
But I mean, it's still the same thing. Yeah, trick plays are always been Boise State's thing, but that exact play to bring it back, and even if it's a wrinkle and has a different name and has like even just a different style to the play, you still bring that play back, and it's not just 2 yards out. That was a 16-yard run by Ajayi, including stiff arming and pummeling the defender right before he goes in the end zone.
That's excellent.
I mean, that shows me three things. A, and Harson's proved this time and time again this year, that Boise State's era is back. B, that they're willing to accept the cute play or gimmicky team as long as it keeps their identity. And 3, physical strength. The offensive line had the shoves up there, and Ajayi still had the physicality to just, like I said, pummel. And the two guys behind him, Arizona players who were behind him, fell behind him and got injured because of it.
Yeah, I couldn't catch him. There's so many big plays in the game, but I guess that's the signature play, I guess you want to say that, where we're up 14-0. Let's just put this away in the first quarter. Or when was that? Whatever it was. First quarter, 21-0.
And really, if Arizona had not – if they did not have the Richard Rodriguez mentality of we're not going to bow out, we're just going to keep on fighting, which Arizona has already had. You even saw it in the 52-13 blowout by Oregon. That last play of the game was a touchdown by Arizona because they just refused to bow out. If Arizona very easily after that 21-0 could have just called it quits right there, and that game would have not ended in 38-30, but it would have possibly ended like in the 50s.
It's possible. They came back. I kind of thought the game was over 28-7, but I want to go to one key thing for Raj at the end of the half. Like, what was your? I was surprised. I liked what Harsin did. There's 34 seconds. It's like we're not taking knee. We're gonna actually score points because you knew Arizona got the ball, and so they get the field goal and they could score again because they started in the second half.
Yeah, I was listening to Chris talking about the Statue of Liberty. I really think going for that field goal was kind of the defining play of the game. Boise State was up 28-17. There was less than a minute left. Coach Harsin could have taken it in. That's an 11-point lead in the Fiesta Bowl. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But Coach Harsin and the team wasn't settled with that. They marched on the field 34 seconds, kicked a field goal, and I think that was probably that set right there made me the happiest and most confident about going in and winning that game, finishing the job.
Definitely. I kind of figured they would at least, because most teams with 34 seconds is too much to not try. You would assume, had maybe Thomas Spurbeck didn't catch that first or second pass, if either one of those fell through, they probably would have just kind of mailed it in with their 20 seconds left. It's 3rd and 7 or whatever it may be, who knows. They're not. Then they'll take a knee and a half or punt with a couple seconds, but get that. I don't know. I don't think Arizona's ready for that though. You get the 25-yard pass, and they weren't going to the sideline. If I recall, at least one of the two was right down the middle. It may have been that second pass, but yeah, it had to be the second one because they called timeouts. Like they threw it right down the middle, use your timeouts, and Dan Goodall could make it from 40 plus. They got him 36 yards. Like, oh, I got this, and I don't think Arizona saw it was coming.
Yeah, I think the whole game, Arizona was thinking that we just have to shut down Jay Ajayi and we'll win this game. And Coach Sanford, the offensive coordinator for Boise State, knew that that's what Arizona was thinking, and they let Grant Hendrick throw the ball. And Grant Hendrick, luckily for him, luckily for Boise State, played within himself, only threw one interception, because we see what happens when Grant Hendrick gets carried away with throwing the ball to the other team. And that the offensive game plan and on that drive gave Grant the confidence to go down with 3 passes and set up that field goal for Goodale.
Yeah, and he did pretty good. 309, 24-34. Like I think everybody mentioned before the game, if he has, my opinion was he could throw 1 interception, but like the turnover margin had to be like even or like -1 for Boise to win. If they're like -2 or 3, there's no chance. But they kept it even, plus whatever, two turnovers for each, and I kind of felt do that or -1, they're winning. Anything above that, not going to happen. And that happened, and that worked out for them. They got even on turnover margin. It didn't really matter. They got the pick 6, and Hedrick played. We know he's not he's a very good quarterback, but nothing exceptional, I would say. That's a fair way to put it.
He's a good quarterback. He's not going to go down in the annals of Boise State history next to Kellen Moore and some of the guys before Kellen Moore, like Ryan Dinwiddie. But he was a good quarterback. He got the job done this year, especially with the new coach. But you're right. He's nothing spectacular, I guess you could say.
Let's go in the second half, because
trouble.
That's one of the. I think that's one of the things that we could have easily, as Boise State fans, we could have easily worried about, and really, with that quarter, with literally nothing happening, how do you think about that third quarter? Was this kind of one of those, oh no, here we go, we're not going to hold the leads, or was it you were still satisfied with the defense still holding up as much as they were, and they really were holding up throughout that whole thing? Raj?
Well, I remember watching the game, and I was freaking out. I was thinking, oh, what's happening here? Arizona's made a recovery, made some changes, and they're doing something. But if you look, I was doing some research, and it was a 10-7 quarter. I mean, the sky wasn't falling. You knew Arizona was like, I think like Chris said, that Arizona was going to make adjustments. They're going to fight. A 10-7 quarter is not the end of the world. Looking back right now, and I felt like in the second half that they weren't running the ball to Ajayi, and I looked at the stats. Ajayi ran the ball 10 times in the second half, and he ran the ball 22 times total in the game. So I think you really got to credit Arizona for making some defensive adjustments and slowing down Boise State. And Boise State probably just had everything breaking its way in the first half and just came on fire. And they weren't obviously going to put up another 31 points in the second half. So the second half wasn't as good as the first half. It wasn't a terrible half. We lost the half 13-7.
I think the main difference for me was the offense only had 2 yards that third quarter. It was just frustrating to watch them. They're punting. Defense did great by holding to that chip shot field, the 24-yard field goal, but they had 2 total yards of offense in the third quarter, and that is where my concern was. Their defense was fine, but you look at these that long drive that held them to the field goal, fine, but the offense had they had a 3 and out in their first 3 possessions in the third quarter. And that was my concern. Like, are they going to do this? Is something going to happen? Because they weren't moving the ball at all. And that's, like I said, yeah, it is looking back 10-7. That's fine. You're still winning. But the offense, frankly, looked bad in that third quarter.
Yeah, when your offense is on fire, and putting up 31 points, you get a little trigger happy. And I'm looking right now, and it says that Grant Hendrick threw the ball to Chaz Anderson 4 times, and they're all incomplete. And Chaz Anderson, he's great. He's a converted defensive back, and he can stretch the field. He's fast, but he's not the greatest pass catcher in the world. So I think they overplayed that card maybe. And
it wasn't but it wasn't that though. If I remember correctly, 3 out of those 4 incompletions were drops, or not drops, but into coverage,
knockdowns or something.
Yeah.
Still, Jai needs to get. Yeah, you gotta make a better decision. But also, Jai, what do you have? Did he have 0 yards? I know they had 2 total yards. I think he was the one who got it.
But
It was
at the same time, though, if you're not throwing to Chaz Anderson that many times, they got the ball out. They got the ball out straight to Sparebuck, receiving 12 times.
yeah, almost 200 yards.
But maybe by that point, by the third quarter, Arizona had basically shut down Spearbeck, and they were looking for a second option to go, or a strong second option.
Was there something? Maybe I missed something in the game, but why didn't Shane Williams-Rhodes get any receptions? He had 2 carries for -5 yards. Where was he in the passing game to mix it up? Because I'm trying to remember. Jeremy McNichols, he also caught 0 passes. Where was the Jay Jai caught 5 for -1? Was it? What do you guys think is Arizona? I don't recall. I'm just trying to spitball a few guys, but were they taking away those type of screens or swing passes Boise does? That's something they do quite often. I didn't see a ton of those.
Well, I think that's one thing that you have to remember about the third quarter as well, though, is that a lot of those plays, probably a lot of those swing passes were coming out during that time where the coaches were looking to pick up less yards and sustain longer drives and maybe just not getting it. I think the whole play calling changed in the second half.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I mean, you can't really take away a bubble screen. You could stop a bubble screen from gaining any yards, but you can't just prevent the play from happening. And, when you got a guy as fast as Shane Williams-Rhodes, why don't you at least try that a couple times? And I don't know. I mean, the play calling in the second half, it seemed like they were getting a little bit too pass happy. I don't know. I don't know why J.J. didn't just run the ball more. You knew it was the last game at Boise State. Just give him the ball every single time. He's gonna break a play here or there eventually.
Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't the best quarter, even though 10-7. But in the final quarter, man, things got interesting. Arizona scores a touch, gets a field goal. Well, we got to pick 6, so that was obviously a big deal. And then Samaje Grant caught that 51-yard pass. But the fourth quarter, man, Boise's defense came up big time after time. There were 3 drive. Wait, at the end of the game, I just want to skip to the end because we don't need to discuss the whole quarter every time. But what was up? I want both your guys' opinions. I'll start with Roger, but not the last time Boise had the ball, but the second to last time they had the ball. Both those possessions I thought were terrible. They went 3 and out. I think there was 6 minutes left, and they can't get a single first down.
I think they told Grant Hendrick not to turn the ball over. That's really what I think happened there.
But they ran the ball one time to Jai. That's it, for 1 yard.
Yeah, I'm looking at their last. I can't really recall what happened. I was just caught up in the thrall of the Fiesta Bowl. But in the last 3 plays that Boise State ran on offense is Jai run for loss of 1 yard, Grant Hendrick run for 1 yard, Grant Hendrick run for 4 yards. Those are the last 3 offensive plays they did.
Well, yeah, it's clearly to run the timeout or waste timeouts. But I'm talking about even the drive before where there's 6 minutes left. If you get one first down, their defense held them perfect on the 4th and 10. They saw them through 4 complete passes, but it seemed like they were. I don't know whether Arizona's defense was playing that much better on that drive, but I was kind of thinking, why not just run the ball? They have 3 timeouts, run it on 1st and 2nd down, and do a short pass on 3rd down and see what happens. Which they kind of did, but I don't know. I just felt that it didn't go as well as planned as I thought it would be.
Well, yeah, the fourth quarter would have been a perfect time to do that swing pass or bubble screen to Shane Williams-Rhodes. I mean, maybe it gets you -1 yards, but maybe it gets you 12 yards. Maybe it breaks it off deep,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That would have seemed like a perfect time to call that play.
Yeah, at least on the maybe when they got 6 minutes left when you can't really just run it out. But I don't remember what that pass to Drake Rowe was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. He's not a guy who's gonna catch just slant or swing passes. But so, Chris, I'll ask you this then: we have the last drive of the game. How nervous were you when they drove 72 yards?
As nervous as I was, I had a little bit of speed because of the fact that if Arizona had scored, they would have had to go for the 2-point conversion no matter what. But you could see it. You could see it even in the play drives there. Boise was regardless of how Solomon was throwing, Boise defense was getting in the backfield. You knew that a sack was coming up, and if I remember correctly, and allow me to look it up here real quickly, I think there was at least one sack.
3. I have it in front of me. There were 3 total sacks in that final drive.
Yeah, the defense was just flat out on Solomon, no matter what. And on a couple of those, they missed. And when they did miss, that was when Arizona picked up their big plays. I wish I had the TV up right now because I could probably be able to drive something out. But look. So Bo Martin sacks in 2nd and 10, 3rd and 13. Boise defense comes rushing again. Solomon finds Caleb Jones 12 yards. Okay, once again, stopping Grigsby just barely. That 4th and 1.
Yeah.
He barely got there, just barely. Next play, Solomon got the 17-yarder, and then the next play after that, no gain. And Solomon was basically on his own on an island having to do things. But still, 3 sacks are not going to help your time.
And then I would have mentioned the one play. The play that Caleb Jones caught over Dante Davis, yeah, Caleb Jones, 6'4", Davis, 5'7", 5'9", tiny guy. I want to ask you guys just both draws, but to me it looked like it was a desperation. I was going to chuck it and see what happens, and he caught it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Like you're saying, Caleb Jones, 6'3". I think he had over 500 yards receiving, maybe 400 yards. He knew he was going to do some damage. Dante Dion, I love the guy, but he's a playmaker. He's going for the ball, and sometimes on pass coverage, he can get burned. And especially, there's no shame in getting beaten by Caleb Jones here and there. You don't hope it doesn't happen in that situation, but it did.
It was good coverage, but I felt a new Solomon just giving up and just threw it as hard as he could.
He was employing the Rex Grossman offense.
To me, I thought he was a guy from the Chucker from Seinfeld, Jimmy. He likes to chuck it every time, just laid back and happened to get higher than Dave. Because Deontay had good coverage. He just doesn't have an extra 6 inches to knock the ball down.
Even an extra 2.
Yeah. And then the last play of the game. What would be going through Solomon's mind?
Get out of bounds. Get out of bounds. Get out of bounds. Get out of bounds. Get out of bounds.
Yeah, that's what. Or throw it away more precisely instead of losing 4 yards. I felt he's like I got this. I've ran enough yards today. I'll get the touchdown. I felt the last moment he thought he could somehow get in the end zone, but there's no way he's going to run it in.
Yeah, I haven't seen the play in a couple of days, but if I remember, he ran forward for some reason. When Correa was coming at him, he ran forward like he was somehow going to get past Correa and get to the end zone, and I have no clue what he was thinking there.
Yeah, and Correa, what did he have? What did he lead the Mountain West in sacks or top 2 in sacks right there with Zach Vigil? I think it was number 1. But
yeah, I think he had 8 sacks for the year.
Yeah, he ran forward.
If you guys excuse me, I'm actually going to watch this video on video right now.
Yeah,
it's one of these things. Okay, so he's rolling out, and I'm giving the play-by-play. So he's rolling out, looking to pass, and he's sitting at the 14-yard line. Okay, and then from there, he sees nobody open, and that's where and Boise's defense, Camelot Correa had a receiver covered, made the decision to go charge him. Another Boise State receiver backed him up and basically covered the guy that Correa was. So Correa came on like a delayed blitz.
Yeah, it's called to the play just lasted forever, but then throw it away, man. He had 9 seconds and no timeouts. You have to throw it away.
I think honestly, I still think he was looking for a guy. And I think if he had 1 more second, he would have thrown it away. But it didn't look like he expected. Like, the look on his plays, it didn't look like he thought that Correa was coming.
I don't know. I still think you just check out the back of the end zone and go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, it was a broken play. There was another Boise State guy in the backfield. Someone picked up the block, but it was a broken play. If Solomon just has to look around, realize it's not going anywhere, throw the ball away, and huddle up and drop a fourth down.
Hey guys, if you have it on chat, I just linked it so you can watch yourself and then make your final decision. But to me, that's what it looked like. It was looking like he was trying to wait to see a receiver get open.
Yeah, it looks like you could be right with the blitz coming late. It's like, okay, somebody's going to be open. Maybe that could be it. But still, when you're coming that forward, nobody's coming, throw it as high as you can. It's not intentional grounding. He's out of the pocket. He could hit the roof. It doesn't matter.
Well, you still have to be defending somebody.
No, you can just chuck it out of the back of the end zone. He's out of the pocket as long as it passed line of scrimmage.
Winston was out of the pocket and got called for intentional grounding at the Rose Bowl.
Well, that was a terrible pass to nobody in the ground.
That's what I said. If you're literally chucking it out of it has to be in the direction.
You just throw it out of the back of the end zone. That's I don't know. I'm no referee, but that's what I'm saying. All right, so that's the game essentially. Was there any Raj? What would you take away from this game going forward? Or really quick, actually, we discussed your play of the game and that type of stuff. You thought drives end of the half. What was your going into the season? Let's kind of back up, not do a recap a little bit. Did you think this was any possibility of them winning the Mountain West title, winning the Fiesta Bowl, doing what they did this year with new coach instead? New coach, but not really new coach with Brian Harsin.
Before the season, my only hope for Boise State was to win the Mountain West. We've never won the Mountain West, and we had to do it eventually because we can't walk around and call ourselves the king of the mid-majors when we can't win our own conference. So my realistic goal was win 10 games. Ole Miss is probably lost. BYU, maybe a loss. Maybe Nevada on the road. So I was looking at an 8 to 9 win season, winning the Mountain West and getting to Las Vegas Bowl. I thought that would have been a great season. I think the tide really started to shift after Boise State beat Nevada. That put the little nugget in our head that we could really maybe do something special. And then when we creamed Wyoming on the road, we were thinking Fiesta Bowl, I think, from there on out. But before the season, it was a 9-win season would have been a victory.
Chris, you recall what we predicted early in the year? Because I think I picked Utah State to go to the title game. It nearly came to that. So I think my expectation, it was 9 wins, but maybe not contend for the Mountain Division right there at Utah State. Do you recall what you picked, Chris, at all?
Yes, I did. I was the bold one to pick the undefeated season, and
that's right.
So I got one of those correct.
There you go. My kind of thought was I didn't think Nevada because I was at the Air Force. My turning point was they crushed BYU, but they didn't have Taysom Hill and stuff. But I was thinking second half of San Diego State, when they made that huge comeback and they crushed Wyoming, and then especially when they crushed Utah State, which I was shocked that they were to put up that many points. But I was thinking I was close to you, good chance to win the conference, but maybe not quite there. But heck, 12-2. Fiesta Bowl champs again. There we go.
Absolutely.
So I don't know where to go over here. Anything else we need to add about the game? Any future stuff we need to discuss about the Broncos? Anything you want to add? Either of you?
Yeah, one thing I tossed on Twitter, I just said, just kind of for fun, I said, who would you take, Boise State or the field to represent the group of 5? And, that's a classic, arrogant Boise State fan, celebrating the victory of the Fiesta Bowl. But, it's not that ludicrous of the question. I think you obviously take the field. It's just better betting odds. But I think Boise State is going to be such a heavy favorite to represent the group of 5 next year. What do you guys think?
Next year? You're referring to next year. No, I would say, you can be arrogant on Boise State, but I would even say Mountain West champ in general or take the field. I'll take the Mountain West because it's proven Utah, TCU, Boise State. Every time there's a champion, they're right there in the mix for the BCS or now these New Year's games. I don't know. I still want to see quarterback because that's the issue. You lose J.J. and Altazar left. What, he go to Washington last year, and Baltazar. I believe that's his name, right? He's gone. So running back's an issue. Kind of. McNichols should be okay. I don't know. I would take clearly. The field's a smart choice just because it's 1 versus 60, and you take with 60. It's like the golf thing. Tiger Woods in the field. It's so tough to take when he was really good. If you're going to take the field with those guys, I would say I would clearly feel, but it would be a tough decision because other teams to put in that mix. I think the Mountain West is there because I would think Utah State could be there too. Whether it's Daryl Garrett, probably the starter. Yeah, they lost their both coordinators. That's a huge deal. But they returned so much talent on both sides of the ball. They didn't have two of their best defenders this past year, or two starters, I should say. Forget one guy, but Kyler Fackrell, he'll be back. They lose Zach Vigil. Their secondary's back. They'll bring so many defensive players back. If I would pick maybe Utah State above because the quarterback situation's better. Their running back situation will be better. Hunter Sharp's still back. I believe they still have JoJo Natson. But I wouldn't doubt anybody say Boise State because they've done it, and who cares? They have to replace a quarterback or running back. They'll be fine, it seems like, right?
Well, one last thing. I think what someone on Twitter said is the Mountain West a conference to beat, and Jeremy, you just touched on that. I think one thing you got to keep in mind is the American Athletic Conference is adding Navy, and we'll have a championship game. And we saw how a championship game affected Ohio State versus TCU. So I'm not really sure if the Mountain West champion, if it's not Boise State or if it's not like a one-loss team, is just automatically going to go over the American Athletic Conference, even if it's the same record.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the Twitter question.
Yeah, we had one from our good prior guest, Kevin McGuire from College Football Talk. He asked if we think the Mountain West is the Premier League. I would, yes, because UConn was 8-5 and got to stupid Fiesta Bowl a couple years ago, unranked or not ranked, but it's close. It'll be those two leagues regardless, but my history is basically saying, like, when the Big East was part of the cartel and everything, the champion of Mountain West was there to get in. More often than not. Because had Northern, well, that was the WAC then, but had Utah State made a field goal versus Wisconsin or beat BYU, they'd have been in the Orange Bowl against Florida State over Northern Illinois a couple years ago.
I'll be honest. I'm going to go look at it from this perspective. The Mountain West is still the conference to beat just because of this fact. Yes, you add Navy next year, but that's still not a great Navy team by any means. Yes, they beat San Diego State, but San Diego State can't play 4 full quarters to save their life this season. But
coaching.
On the American Athletics Conference, you had 3 teams who went 1-11, and 2 teams who went 2-10. So you had SMU 1-11, Connecticut 2-10, Tulsa 2-10, Tulane 3-9, and then it just gets a little bit better. With the Mountain West, you don't see anybody that bad except for UNLV and San Jose State, and both of those teams are upgrading theoretically next year. I'll go ahead and say that UNLV is upgrading, and San Jose State, well, we'll see with Forges.
Yeah, we'll see.
But on the other hand, you have New Mexico, Wyoming. Both of those teams have been getting upgrades. Both of those teams have been consistently getting better. You had 4 teams in the Mountain West and in the Mountain Division who had 10 wins.
Yeah, that's hard to argue against. Yeah, they had one 10-win team. And Memphis is came out of nowhere. They've been terrible.
And then they were like, we could beat BYU too.
In a fight and on the field. So what are you, Roger? Are you saying Mountain West would be the team I'm assuming you take?
Yeah, I think Boise. I know the committee is just looking at this season, but Boise State and to a lesser extent Utah State have some goodwill in the bank, and they're not going to show up at a New Year's Eve bowl and just completely get Jordan lynched, I guess, for lack of better.
Colt Brennan.
Yeah.
Colt Brennan.
And East Carolina. I don't know what happened in the game against Florida. I watched the first quarter, and I knew that things were not going to go good for them. And I don't know. I don't know if you have any team in the American Athletic Conference. I'm just saying, you saw Memphis pretty good. East Carolina had some buzz earlier in the year. So did Cincinnati. Houston is not a bad program. I think I'm missing another team. Temple, they're not terrible. So, if you look at the upper echelon.
Houston, maybe, with Tom Herman next year.
Sure. You look at the upper echelon of the American Athletic Conference, and it's maybe comparable to the upper echelon of the Mountain West Conference, especially expecting a slide from Colorado State, and you never know what you're going to get from Air Force.
That's why I think where the comparisons are better. You got to go to the top 3 teams, because who cares at the bottom? It doesn't matter. If you have one loss, you're going to be in the mix for that New Year's Day or New Year's Eve bowl game. So if you look at the top 3, Memphis has never been that good. I'd say Air Force over Memphis, but at least this year, close just because Memphis has never done it and Air Force is more consistent outside of last year. Cincinnati's usually pretty good. UCF just lost their D coordinator to Colorado State, who was very good. Like I said, with East Carolina and Ruffin there, they usually start hot but fade at the end. There's more consistency. Utah State and Boise State the past 5 years, even Boise longer, 4 years, I guess, for Utah State, they've been more consistent than any team in the American Conference. They've had, look at the past couple BCS at the end of the years, they had a rotating champion every year. It seemed like UCF, UConn, whoever was in the league before, I don't remember, West Virginia, I guess, something like that. But it's never been the same team at the top. Not that it matters for the bowl bid, but still, that kind of goes into effect to play a factor.
Yeah, you guys have convinced me. If Boise State or Utah State win the conference and they have the best record amongst the majors, they're going to go. And they're not going to get jumped by the Sun Belt regardless of their record.
Sorry, Georgia Southern.
Right.
8-0, 9-3, no bowl game.
But
Anything else after this, Chris?
Georgia Southern won't be something to snip at next year.
They will or won't?
They will. They won't. They're not going to be something to kind of scoff at. I think Georgia Southern will have a good, possibly an 11-win season next year. We'll have to see.
We'll see, but I'm saying if there's we saw a team with 2 losses over Marshall, would they have 1 loss, and they got
Marshall was undefeated at that point.
Yeah, undefeated, but then they lost the 1 game, and then that's what I'm saying. You got 2 losses, and they beat all these teams with the teams with 1 loss, so it's like it's already proven this year. Essentially, 2 losses is better than 1 loss, I guess, for some of the teams. I don't know. I think we're good. We wrapped this up pretty well. Chris, anything last parting shots you want to add about this?
About this or about right now?
Anything. What do you got?
Well, we have an upset on the road. Wyoming beat Colorado State.
This is our football. This is our football show here. No kidding.
What's that?
Football? What?
Football? Okay. Yeah.
No, not kidding. That's a big. No, it's a big win. You can match. I saw that too. I was letting it pass till later.
Well, it is later. You guys can talk about it on your basketball recap.
You're joining us too on Sundays because you were just busy, right?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, we'll wrap this up now. We don't need to talk about whatever. Wyoming wins. Larry Nance Jr. is great, and they have a bunch of white guys who can dunk. That's good to know about Wyoming. And it was a road win, so that's pretty big too. But yeah, that's our Fiesta Bowl wrap up. This is our football show. We will be doing. We'll keep you on, Raj, as I close this out here. It's no big deal. I guess you could listen to what our plans are going forward. Just because our plans are. It's our Fiesta Bowl recap. What our plans are I assume we'll discuss this now, but we'll probably do some sort of team recap, 1 or 2 a week, because we want to keep the football show going throughout the whole offseason instead of taking like a 4-month break. Because, Chris, at one point we need to crack 1,000 listeners on SoundCloud, right?
I thought we did.
Not on SoundCloud alone. Overall, we have, but not on SoundCloud. That's the easy. iTunes doesn't give me numbers to track it, so I go on SoundCloud. So we'll probably doing that eventually down the road, probably once a week or something to kind of keep everybody in touch with that. Draft stuff happening. We have the Combine. Plenty of football to talk about. And, yes, thank you, Raj, for joining us as well. Check him out at Raj, RAJBNN for Bronco Nation News.com, is that right? I forget for a moment.
Yeah, it's Bronco Nation News or BNN Bronco Nation on Twitter.
Okay, that's why I wasn't sure it was Bronco Nation News or not. So BroncoNationNews.com. So, hey, thanks for hopping on, discussing the Fiesta Bowl. And everybody, remember, you can listen Blog Talk Radio usually, iTunes, SoundCloud, like we always say. 5-star review, say what you want. That helps us the best. You can say we're terrible. We don't care. Just give us a 5-star review. But thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.